My social media is very powerful, and if I didn't have social media, I probably wouldn't be here.
If someone were to ask the average American 10 years ago, would you see political candidates communicate the way they do today? I think most people would say no.
Donald Trump has now sent almost 50,000 tweets. They've taken him from reality TV star to the Oval Office.
The president communicates more on a daily basis with the American people than all of the other 44 presidents combined.
And 140 characters at a time changed the presidency forever.
Donald Trump's use of Twitter was very striking because it was unlike anything we'd seen before.
He's a classic keyboard warrior.
He's waged a lot of his political battles at the forefront on Twitter.
Boom, gone.
If you're going to take the president on, you have to fight him on this battleground.
The U.S. has become a dumping ground for everybody else's problems.
And while there are a lot of benefits, social media can also create chaos.
The global political landscape will never quite be the same again.
It was a great idea that turned into hell.
On May 4th, 2009, Donald Trump tweeted, "Be sure to tune in and watch Donald Trump on Late Night with David Letterman as he presents the top 10 list tonight." This is the tweet that started it all.
So Donald Trump joined Twitter. He was still hosting The Apprentice, so he was a reality TV star. You know, this is a classic Trump of being a self-promoter, which is really the core of his business skills. He is a marketer.
Even as recently as a few years ago, Twitter was not something that was important. Politicians would put out press releases on it or some canned statements from PR people.
But near the end of Barack Obama's first term as president, one man starts to change that. Donald Trump.
When will we see Barack Obama's passport records? And then in parentheses, sealed?
For several years before he ran for president, President Trump was the most energetic proponent of the conspiracy theory that Barack Obama was not born in America. This is the birth of the conspiracy theory that changed American politics.
So under the current US law, a president needs to be a natural-born US citizen. There were claims that Barack Obama was not a natural-born US citizen.
In August 2012, Trump tweeted, "An extremely credible source has called my office and told me that Barack Obama's birth certificate is a fraud." Trump convinced a lot of people that it was true. It was a lie the entire time.
Now, I know that he's taken some flack lately, but no one is happier, no one is prouder to put this birth certificate matter to rest than the Donald. And that's because he can finally get back to focusing on the issues that matter. Like, did we fake the moon landing? And where are Biggie and Tupac?
After Trump is spending all this time attacking Obama for not being born in the United States, Obama turns it around with this searing joke against him at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. And I would not be surprised if that's a major moment of Trump deciding not only to run for president, but to undo everything Obama did.
After several years of flirting with the idea, on June 16, 2015, Donald Trump takes his political campaigning from Twitter onto the national stage.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am officially running for President of the United States, and we are going to make our country great again.
Entrepreneur Anthony Scaramucci served in Donald Trump's administration in 2017 as Director of Communications.
Donald Trump, rightly or wrongly, subverted the entire communication process of running for president. He's a phenomenal showman. He's an amazing communicator because he is literally a verbal car crash.
And I wrote something today that I think is very, very salient, very important, and probably not politically correct, but I don't care. I don't care.
All right. Hillary Clinton, perhaps the most dishonest person to have ever run for the presidency, is also one of the all-time great enablers.
Sir Michael Singleton was an advisor for rival Republican candidate Dr. Ben Carson.
Imagine that. You don't have to attack a person on an ad by spending $20 million, which is what campaigns in the United States typically do. You can put it out in a tweet. It's free, and hundreds of thousands of people will retweet it. It is a new way to not only communicate, but it's a new way to aggressively attack your opponents.
Honestly, she should be locked up. Should be locked up.
And while some people may sort of write it off as, oh, this is ridiculous, this is ludicrous, there is a sense of entertainment in it. How do I not like this? It's really funny. And so I think that's a part of the marketing genius of Donald Trump.
There's an unbelievable love in these rooms, all the same. I love you too. I love you. Stand up. Who said that? Thank you, Dad.
In October 2015, before he has even secured the Republican nomination, Trump's number of Twitter followers overtakes that of his opponent, Hillary Clinton.
10 million followers on Twitter. He was basically saying he was 5 times the Wall Street Journal. And so there it was on his phone. He had a printing press on his phone that he could get out to a very large group of people very easily. And since he is a good turn of phrase trolling son of a bitch.
Thank you very much.
He's able to fire off a gun with his Twitter account, and it causes news organizations to have their liberal television pundits and anchors have their hair catch on fire, and it makes him laugh because he does have a sense of humor.
Can you believe it?
He did a brilliant job of using Twitter to help him hop over the mainstream media, which was decidedly biased and negative towards him.
These people are living in a different planet.
In US elections, money talks, but it turns out Twitter talks louder. Hillary's reputation never recovers.
Secure the border, build the wall. This was, I believe, the first time he mentioned the wall on Twitter.
Pippa Malmgren served as an economic advisor to President George W. Bush.
One of the most controversial issues in America and globally about America is this border wall with Mexico. This became a kind of lightning rod in American politics. Are you for or against the wall?
They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists, and some, I assume, are good people.
The comments about the wall being important for national security and crime prevention brings more people into his tent, and it becomes a cornerstone of his campaign.
When Mexico sends its people They're not sending their best. They're not sending you. They're not sending you. They're sending people that have lots of problems.
On September the 1st, 2016, Donald Trump tweeted, "Mexico will pay for the wall."
The Mexican president said that's never going to happen. As a result of these tweets and his rhetoric, the next thing you know, at rallies, his audience are chanting, "Build a wall, build that wall, build that wall."
Build the wall, 3 words, right? Good slogan through hope and change, right? Good slogans, good memorable political slogans.
See, the thing is, in public policy, you usually have to sketch out an actual policy position, and then you can argue about the nuances of policy. But when you use Twitter as a platform, you just say that sentence, and it becomes very binary. It's either yes or it's a no. And part of the reason that he likes Twitter is because you can make an announcement that actually curtails the possibility of a negotiation.
His Twitter account is a thumb in the eye of the media. Those tweets are designed to trigger liberals and to make his base, which is a predominantly white, lower middle class angst that he's expressing. And so those people, they read his tweets and they feel like it's like getting their ear Q-tipped by their nana when they were 5 years old. They genuinely enjoy it. And because these are popularity contests, he won.
By election day, Donald Trump has 13 million Twitter followers.
I was sitting on a couch at the Hilton Hotel on 6th Avenue when President Trump and the precincts were reporting in from Florida. Mayor Giuliani was sitting on the couch with me. He looked at me, he said, "Ant, those precincts are all white-collar precincts that are about to report. Those people come to the voting booths late because they're working, and they come to the voting booths late, and he's going to win those precincts, and as a result of which he's going to win Florida, and he's going to win the presidency."
At 2:30 a.m. November 9th, the results for the battleground state of Wisconsin come in. Donald Trump now has enough electoral votes to become president.
I've just received a call from Secretary Clinton. She congratulated us, it's about us, on our victory.
On January 20th, 2017, Donald J. Trump is sworn in as the 45th President of the USA.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute
that I will faithfully execute
the office of President of the United States.
But within hours, it's Twitter that's center stage.
So at the time of the president's inauguration, there were competing images.
You could see from pictures that he had probably 35% of what the Obama inauguration looked like, but also from the parade. I remember being at the parade thinking, my God, there's nobody here.
Some members of the media were engaged in deliberately false reporting. Photographs of the inaugural proceedings were intentionally framed in a way, in one particular tweet, to minimize the enormous support that had gathered on the National Mall.
He told Sean Spicer to go out there and say it was the largest, most well-attended audience in inaugural history.
This was the largest audience to ever witness an inauguration, period, both in person and around the globe.
Within months, Trump will stop holding the traditional daily White House press briefings. Why talk to the media when you can use Twitter to talk to the people?
There's been a lot of talk in the media about the responsibility to hold Donald Trump accountable. And I'm here to tell you that it goes two ways. We're going to hold the press accountable as well.
Trump hits on a perfect phrase to describe the established media. and dismiss them. Fake news.
Donald Trump's use of Twitter was very striking because it was unlike anything we'd seen before. Initially, his use of Twitter was seen as entertaining, perhaps shocking, but not necessarily as a force that would change the way countries are governed.
Fake news media, failing NY Times, NBC News, ABC, CBS, CNN, is not my enemy. It is the enemy of the American people.
You are fake news. Fake news, folks. Fake news. It's all fake news. But you guys report it anyway because you're fake news.
Anytime anyone writes anything negative about him is, well, fake news, fake news. That fake news insult just really stuck. To this day, it's one of Trump's go-to terms.
Fake stories.
People legitimately believe that the media now is the enemy of Trump and thus the enemy of the people, and it's all fake news. I cannot tell you how many times I have talked to people at these pro-Trump events where they will say, oh yeah, well, you're fake news. I mean, you guys just make stuff up about the president. The idea that we make things up, it's just demonstrably not true. I would love to be able to just make something up about the president and put it out there, collect my paycheck and go home. It doesn't matter whether or not he means it. What matters is the people who are following him do believe it.
We need politicians to talk to us, to tell us what's going on so that we can report it. They need journalists in order to communicate to a wider audience. Donald Trump has challenged that assertion by speaking directly to people via social media, and he has publicly set himself up in opposition to the press. Plenty of politicians before Donald Trump have disliked the media, but Donald Trump's desire to politicize and exaggerate that division between politicians and the people covering them has polarized opinion in America and elsewhere in the world.
New York Times investigative reporter Nicholas Confessori has analysed more than 11,000 of Trump's tweets during the first 3 years of his presidency.
So when you study the president's Twitter behavior as a whole, you can really shine a light on how his White House works. And that's part of what's so fascinating about it. He tends to tweet early in the morning, before the workday really starts, and late at night after the workday ends. Sometimes we find him tweeting at like 2 in the morning or 3 in the morning. He'll be very angry about something. And you can almost make an educated guess that he's lying there, can't sleep, he's mad about this, he wants to get it off of his chest. It's like watching his mood, knowing what he's thinking and feeling in real time. You would never have had this kind of access to the inner life of an American president at any other time in history.
Ask not what America will do for you, but what together we can do for the freedom of man.
If someone were to ask the average American 10 years ago, would you see political candidates communicate the way they do today? I think most people would say no.
You must not be stampeded by rumors or guesses. Let us unite in banishing fear.
In the 1930s, President Roosevelt used the radio to speak to the American people in a meaningful way.
Roosevelt had his fireside chats over the radio, which was great because he was in a wheelchair and he didn't want anybody to know that.
In the 60s, President Kennedy exploited the latest technology.
Some would say even that Kennedy perhaps became president just because he was so dynamic on television.
Half a century later, President Donald Trump is using Twitter to revolutionize how politicians communicate. But where mass media could be scripted and controlled, on social media, the president can say what he likes, day or night.
There have been various efforts in the administration mostly in the early days, to restrain his tweeting. There were still people in the White House who thought that they could manage this president. And one idea his aides had was to ask Twitter to impose a 15-minute delay on his tweets so that they would somehow have a way to see what was happening and stop it. It never got off the ground. A second effort came a few months later in his presidency when a couple of aides sat him down and said, look, how about if you let these three people, whoever's around, review your tweet before you send it out? And he agreed. And it lasted about a day.
It does kind of make you a little concerned how much the leader of this government, of this very important country, is on his phone looking at Twitter. What is our country coming to when a judge can halt a Homeland Security travel ban and everyone, even with bad intentions, can come to the United States?
Trump is very good at identifying some of the fears of his base and using that to fuel his political argument. He certainly did this in a very clear way around Muslims and around the fear of terrorism.
Donald J. Trump is calling for a total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States until our country's representatives can figure out what the hell is going on. We have no choice. We have no choice.
January 27th, 2017. After just 1 week in office, President Trump fulfills a Twitter promise.
This was something, the 5-year ban that I've been talking about a lot on the campaign trail, and we are now putting it into effect.
He signs an executive order. For 90 days, foreign nationals from predominantly Muslim countries are banned from visiting the USA.
I think one of the most interesting things about Twitter and the Trump presidency is the issue of executive orders. And usually what happens is the president, in consultation with the rest of the government, comes to a decision and announces this is what the White House policy is going to be. But what he's tended to do is make an announcement on Twitter saying this is the policy.
Trump did not have a very good grasp of how the system works when he got elected, nor the limitations of presidents. The American system is quite complicated, but his lack of understanding was, to me, quite striking.
Venting their anger, there remain all kinds of people in this country who oppose Trump's travel ban.
Protests that were taking place against this ban, people in solidarity to try and push back at this policy and at what people saw as a very xenophobic, very anti-Muslim policy in particular.
The courts quickly challenged the travel ban, forcing President Trump to create a more watered-down version. The president will soon find out that his tweets are more than just words.
That's right, we need a travel ban for certain dangerous countries, not some politically correct term that won't help us protect our people.
Days later, the court blocks the travel ban, citing this tweet as evidence of it being discriminatory.
Interestingly, here's one of the situations where Trump's Twitter has come back to bite him, because his tweets were entered into evidence showing the intent of the administration was to ban people who are from Muslim countries.
Eventually, the Supreme Court allows the travel ban, handing a victory to Donald Trump. Six months into his presidency, Donald Trump has already tweeted over 30,000 times.
Despite the constant negative press, Covfefe.
Thing that happened when he tweeted the word Covfefe, there was a madness that occurred. Was it a message to our enemies? Is this another language? Is this Farsi? Is he speaking to the Israelis? Is he speaking to the Chinese? What's going on? Like, we did a full language search to try and figure out if this is some other word in another language.
It was assumed to be a misspelling of coverage, the idea of ongoing negative press coverage. But rather than deleting the tweet right away or editing it as one would normally do, Trump had let it stay up there.
The reaction was unbelievable. To show the power of the medium, when the president said the word Covfefe, one, it created a new word. Instantly. Urban Dictionary, like, you can find this word. He created a new English word. How many presidents have done that? It's like something that he just owned it.
But what was really interesting was how Trump and many of his spokespeople kind of doubled down that was a real word and a real term, and just people weren't understanding it, that it was people's fault for not understanding what he was trying to say.
We all must be united and condemn all that hate stands for. There is no place for this kind of violence in America. Let's come together as one.
In Charlottesville, there was a decision by the local government to remove a Civil War statue from a park.
Confederate statues were generals who essentially fought for the South in the Civil War in the 1800s, which essentially fought to remain and continue slavery. Obviously, as a black person, that's something that I'm not for.
This became the focal point for a white supremacist rally, and the decision was to make Charlottesville ground zero for their movement. In response to that, there were some anti-fascist, anti-racist, left-wing counter-protesters. By and large, it was people who were against fascism and racism versus people who were for racism and fascism. That's sort of the way it played itself out.
There was a gentleman who was a part of the pro-Confederacy group who got in his car and drove into a crowd of individuals and killed an innocent bystander who was on the opposition.
Trump's response to it was there were good people on both sides. You know, what he was trying to say is that not everybody who was there to unite the right in rally to protest the bringing down of the statue were racist. They weren't all fascist. Some of them were good people, is what he's trying to say.
For many, this failure to immediately condemn right-wing violence is a classic example of how Twitter lets the world see the real Donald Trump, and they don't like what they see.
The president in that tweet did not specifically denounce neo-Nazis or any racist groups. People expected leadership. They expected to be comfort, and the president fell short for a lot of people.
I spoke with President Moon of South Korea last night, asked him how Rocket Man is doing. Long gas lines forming in North Korea, too bad.
He has a background in reality television. It's said that what we have with the Trump presidency is a reality show with nuclear weapons. And it's very much an extension of what he was doing before he was president, except the real world stakes are much, much higher.
Since President Clinton's first attempt in 1994, every US administration has tried to stop North Korea's nuclear missile program.
September 19th, 2017. The USA has great strength and patience, but if it is forced to defend itself or its allies, we will have no choice but to totally destroy #NoCo, or North Korea.
He starts this whole conversation about North Korea with threats. I just don't see that as being an effective way to negotiate anything with Kim Jong-un. And in fact, I think it opens the door for Kim Jong-un to recognize that Trump is unstable.
Donald Trump is the first to attempt to do it via the medium of tweets.
November 2017. Why would Kim Jong-un insult me by calling me old when I would never call him short and fat? oh well, I tried so hard to be his friend, and maybe someday that will happen. I mean, this is schoolyard stuff. This is stuff kids say, and it's coming from the Twitter feed of the President of the United States. I'm not sure there's a better window into how the President thinks of his job and what he uses Twitter for. He's a troll. The President of the United States is a Twitter troll.
But this was the nature of how Donald Trump, who had no foreign policy experience, decided to engage in geopolitics.
Ignoring diplomatic norms again, Trump informs the world via Twitter of behind-the-scenes talks.
And of course, we also see that this president can go from hot to cold, or I should say from hot to warm, very quickly.
In June 2018, the first ever meeting between a sitting US president and a North Korean leader takes place in Singapore.
He was able to meet face-to-face several times with the leader of North Korea and maybe slow down the North Korean ballistic missile and nuclear weapons program for a period of time. The Rocket Man jibes and the threats of annihilating North Korea very quickly turned into an exchange of love letters.
This exchange leads to Donald Trump making history again by becoming the first US president to set foot in North Korea.
Trump swallowed everything Kim Jong-un said to him, and virtually nothing Kim Jong-un said to him was true.
And our relationship is a very special relationship.
So if you're trying to figure out what Trump is doing and watching this via Twitter or his public comments, you can get whiplash very quickly because it can go in a different direction very, very fast.
Iran has been nothing but problems for many years. Let this serve as a warning that if Iran strikes any Americans or American assets,
we have targeted 52 Iranian sites representing the 52 American hostages taken by Iran many years ago.
Some at a very high level and important to Iran and the Iranian culture. And those targets and Iran itself
will be hit very fast and very hard.
The USA wants no more threats.
In January 2020, the United States uses a drone to kill a top Iranian general, Qasem Soleimani, in Baghdad, blaming him for being responsible for the deaths of hundreds of American and coalition forces over the years. In typical style, President Trump's diplomacy takes place on Twitter.
These tweets were quite sensational, instantly made headlines around the world, again had people very concerned that Iran and the United States were about to go to war.
This would be January 5th, 2020, at Real Donald Trump. These media posts will serve as notification to the United States Congress that should Iran strike any U.S. person or target, the United States will quickly and fully strike back, and perhaps in a disproportionate manner. When the President of the United States is calling for a disproportionate response, where he's going to identify religious sites or holy sites that he's going to attack, which is against UNESCO and the UN treaty, he's a jackass.
You had uproars across the global international community. And so while social media enables the direct forms of communication that I think we all like, but it also could potentially create chaos that we don't want, particularly when you talk about a region that's already almost on the brink of war.
This was an extremely scary day because people didn't know what was going to happen. And the messaging that we were getting was that things were probably going to get worse before they got better.
Amidst the mass uproar in Iran, President Hassan Rouhani responds to Trump via Twitter.
Iran, of course, promised that there would be retaliation and that there would be a response from their side to this.
5 days after the killing of Soleimani, Iran launches airstrikes against US forces in Iraq without loss of life.
The Iranian government and President Trump used Twitter to attack each other and to eventually de-escalate. And so then the question will be, is this going to be the standard going forward?
Trump is forcing other world leaders to use his preferred means of communication, and the limited damage so far seems to show it just might be working.
So interesting to see progressive Democrat congresswomen who originally came from countries whose governments are a complete and total catastrophe, the worst, most corrupt and inept anywhere in the world, if they even have a functioning government at all, now loudly and viciously telling the people of the United States, the greatest and most powerful nation on earth, imagine Trump saying this, how our government is to be run. Why don't they go back and help fix the totally broken and crime-infested places from which they came? Now look, I gotta say this about this tweet. It was one, completely inappropriate because the congresswomen were either born in the United States or immigrated to the United States and were here legally.
As far as I'm concerned, if you hate our country, if you're not happy here, you can leave. And that's what I say all the time. That's what I said in a tweet, which I guess some people think is controversial. A lot of people love it, by the way.
I encourage the American people and all of us in this room and beyond to not take the bait.
The Squad is this group that the media has given them this title, if you will.
All four women have been very outspoken against Trump from the beginning and really calling out a lot of his policies, especially those that are impacting people of color and immigrants and refugees.
And one of the Squad, Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez, with nearly 5 million followers, is showing that politicians on the other side of the divide can use Twitter just as powerfully as the president.
All four were democratically elected to the Congress of the United States.
More than halfway through his term, Donald Trump's tweets are now routinely taken seriously as official presidential statements and not just hot air.
After the tweet, there was a vote in the House on a resolution condemning these specific tweets by the president and the kind of language he had used. All Democrats in the House voted in favor of that.
You had a few Republicans condemning the president's tweets. Not a lot, though, because no one wants to find themselves waking up to a Twitter storm, being attacked by the president.
Every family is a family of immigrants and has an immigrant story. And so my grandparents, particularly my grandmother, was told to go back to the country that she originally came from. And now the president is saying that to these progressive Democratic congresswomen. For me, I spoke out against this.
On July 16, 2019, Anthony Scaramucci tweets, "Would @real Donald Trump ever tell a white immigrant, whether first, second, third, or fourth plus generation, to go back to your country? No. That's why the comments were racist and unacceptable."
We see that Trump's tweets do indeed have consequences. These aren't just characters online. They're shaping discourse in the US, and they're having consequences in different ways.
2 days later, at a Trump rally in North Carolina, this message moves from Twitter into the real world.
The crowd started chanting, "Send her back," in regards to Ilhan Omar, and suggesting send her back to Somalia.
I don't know what it means when you tell someone to go back to their country. If I'm born in the United States, where else should I go?
But you don't need to be a Democratic congresswoman to have the president attack you personally on Twitter.
My original reaction was I went quite white. On the 19th of August, from @RealDonaldTrump 2019, he writes, "Anthony Scaramucci is a highly unstable nutjob who was with other candidates in the primary who got shellacked and then unfortunately wheedled his way into my campaign. I barely knew him until his 11 days of gross incompetence, made a fool of himself, bad on TV, abused staff. Got fired. You'd never feel more alive than when the President of the United States is calling you an unstable nut job. Let me tell you that.
Donald Trump has now been in office for 3 years, tweeted nearly 50,000 times, and there's no sign any target is off limits.
So ridiculous. Greta must work on her anger management problem, then go to a good old-fashioned movie with a friend. Chill, Greta, chill.
Chill? Who's talking here? This is the least chill president in the history of the United States, telling a kid to chill.
It should not be up to us to take the responsibility. But since the leaders are behaving like children, then we have no other choice.
On December the 11th, teenage climate activist Greta Thunberg is named the coveted Time Person of the Year. Trump, who was also on the shortlist for the honor, tweets the following day.
I can't think of any other president who would issue a public statement on Twitter attacking a child because he happened to be in disagreement with her about climate change and maybe a little bit jealous of her attention.
Wherever you are on this issue of climate change, Greta represents one voice of what is truth and reality. And at the other end of the spectrum, there's a huge contingent of Americans who see that Donald Trump represents truth and reality on that question. So it's a complete impasse about, substantively, what is true and what is not true. And none of the scientists have been able to really break that impasse, I think in part because scientists don't speak in plain English and they can't convey what they know as well as maybe these two can on their Twitter platforms.
Since 2012, Donald Trump has been using Twitter to question or make light of climate change.
When it comes to climate change generally, the United States is supposed to be the leader. And when Trump tweets about it being a hoax, he is undermining the global effort to fight climate change.
It's just become like religion. Either you believe or you don't believe. And where do we see that play itself out? Twitter.
The greatest witch hunt in the history of the USA.
In 2020, 3 years into his first term, Donald Trump faces the greatest challenge to his presidency, and he uses his Twitter account to fight back.
And this stems from the allegation that the president held up military aid that Ukraine vitally needed in its fight against Russia unless the president of Ukraine would do Donald Trump a personal favor by announcing an investigation into Joe Biden and the former vice president's son, Hunter.
Impeachment is the term in the U.S. in which a president can be removed from office for committing high crimes and misdemeanors.
So the House of Representatives, which is one of the two chambers of Congress, started an investigation.
Impeachment witch hunt. Now we go again.
The worst witch hunt in political history.
I'm too busy to watch it. It's a witch hunt. It's a hoax.
The president tweeted this phrase, witch hunt, countless times.
He has repeatedly referred to himself as the most persecuted person in American history, the most persecuted president in the history of America, which has caused some people to respond. You know, we've had a few presidents who have been literally assassinated, so they might have got a bit of a rawer deal than you. And after interviewing many witnesses, the House of Representatives, which are controlled by the Democrats, came to the conclusion that Trump did this and voted to impeach Trump.
On January 16th, 2020, the Senate trial begins. During the impeachment trial, Donald Trump's Twitter account goes into overdrive. In just one day, he tweets 131 times.
What the president does is use Twitter to just hammer his political opponents with messaging, knowing that the news cycle will instinctively snap its neck and focus on what the president is saying that day.
He repeats it over and over, witch hunt, witch hunt, witch hunt. And it's true to say he can make at least 40% of America believe almost anything he says on Twitter.
Was it effective or was it not effective? The proof is in the pudding.
That vote in the United States Senate on whether to convict or acquit a president of the United States is a very historic day. Even though we knew there was virtually no chance that the Senate, because it is controlled by the president's Republican Party, would vote to convict the president and remove him from office. But for it to even get to that stage, it's something that so rarely happens in our history. It is a moment that is very solemn in a democracy such as this.
It is therefore ordered and adjudged that the said Donald John Trump be, and he is hereby, acquitted of the charges in said articles.
Several hours later, President Trump tweets,
I will be making a public statement tomorrow at 12 p.m. from our White House to discuss our country's victory on the impeachment hoax. This is actually pretty restrained for President Trump. This is almost close to how a normal president might tweet. Only one Republican was able to defy him and voted for conviction. Only one.
But this is what the end result is.
It's been one of the most divisive moments in American history, and much of that did play out through the president's Twitter account.
You ready? Keep America great.
During the first 3 years of Donald Trump's presidency, his Twitter following more than tripled, giving him a global audience of 71 million, making him the world's most followed leader.
Twitter's fundamentally changed the landscape and fabric of how we communicate in politics forever.
Donald Trump has understood that better than any other politician, I would argue, in modern political times in the United States.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
One question is, can we ever go back? Can we ever have a politician who doesn't use Twitter, who doesn't use social media platforms? And I suspect the answer's got to be no.
The genie's out of the lamp. It's not going back in. You can't give America such unfettered access to our politicians, the way they think, what they want, what their whims are, what's on their mind that morning, that evening, and then take it away.
So the good news is the tweeting and the Twitter account of President Trump has led to more awareness, and I predict a awakening of people in our society and in the electorate.
It may be that we'll see another social media politician like Trump, but he is such a unique personality that I do not see another one like him in the Oval Office for a while.
It's hard to imagine that we'll get a politician who can get into the presidency without having mastered social media.